Hey, hello, and welcome to Cosmic Emporium. And actually, I should change my speaker view. And there we go. Welcome to Cosmic Emporium number 9. I'm here with a second person. This is a TOTCAST. This is the second time Vern has been with us. And our topic that we have chosen between ourselves to discuss is the Noosphere. So that's Noosphere. No, two N-O-O and sphere, Noosphere. So anyway, Vern, hello, welcome, and you're going to kind of get us started with what Noosphere is, and I'll ask questions if you don't get it. I have a feeling you're going to be quite thorough, though. So please go ahead.
Well, the Noosphere has got an S in it, N-O-O-S, as in Nous. I think Nous or N-O-S, N-O-O-S is mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it might be N-O-U-S in the Greek spelling, but I'm not sure.
Nous, and so obviously that's a mind, and the sphere. So you could look at that as planet Earth. That's how it came about. There was, I think, 3 peoples at the time. They all came up a bit like the airplane. How the airplane was invented about the same time in 2 or 3 different countries it was happening,
right,
or more probably. And so you had a thing put in, there was 3 anyway. And of course one of them got the, as a science thing, one of them got the, noted as being the first to put this theory forward, because it was a theory based on science, because it was in the 1870s, 1880s, from memory. The person that brought it forward said that there has to be a mind sheath for humanity around the Earth. There sort of has to be. In the more New Age or Now Age movement over the last 20, 30 years, it's been grabbed again by different peoples, because it's a very important topic. And Jose Arguelles, who's no longer with us, he passed in 2011. He was the one that really got it moving again in circles of like, oh, this makes sense. You know, we've got the collective mind somehow. So a lot of people equate it to the collective mind, same similar. And also you have the other aspect of when he put one of his biggest selling books out, it was called Time and the Technosphere. Defining that we'd gone from the technological age, like the industrial age, the technological age, and now we're going to a noospheric age in a different way. And he actually wanted to put on the cover of that book, this is 2000, beginning of 2002, he actually wanted to put on the cover of his book the twin towers with the plane or planes hitting it. And he wasn't allowed to. They wouldn't let him. The publications or whatever, they would not let him do that. But he was trying to put through in that time that the planes hitting the twin towers was actually a huge sign of the technosphere coming down and the noosphere evolving to its next point in time, which is happening since that time. And when he was sort of putting this forward and he wasn't allowed to do it, he was like, oh, it's not going to happen, that's fine, and he didn't do it. But what he was trying to also say was, if you look at it, when Lady Diana died, people that hated her, hated the royal family, they cried. And they sat there going, what the hell am I crying for? I hate the bitch. But I'm crying. And they had no choice. And that was the noosphere at work, I believe. Yeah. So you got your, so by that alone, you can see how feelings, not just the mind, but feelings, it's a part of the mind, because the mind is not the brain, as I think most of us know. So the feelings are in there. So when you had the twin towers hit, the powers that were, or the wers.
I like the wares, or the wers.
Yeah, the wares had planned it in such a way, which is obvious once you've done your research, to manipulate the noosphere. And that's how and they went about it. And then nowadays we can look at it and go, wow, that was so well planned. It was terribly planned in many ways, because the internet and everything else has made it obvious to the researcher or the person that knows their own mind. Wow, did they manipulate the noosphere on that day, and how they went about it? And then you could see in past times when you didn't have the internet and you had mail, how would you do it? How did you manipulate the Gutenberg press or whatever? So the noosphere has always been worked with to some degree, but it's just got to the stage with the industrialization period, the technological period, and now we're going into a new period, and that collective mind or noosphere is working in a whole different way. And you can see it now because of the feelings. The feelings are absolutely tied in with the noosphere. It's something people may not look at, but if you get feelings going in a bigger way, it's working with your mind and the collective mind, or the noosphere. So that's why we're seeing some of the major shifts we're seeing noospherically. That's my take on the noospheric beginnings. Has always been there, but now it's evolved to a new point.
Well, I see a real parallel, with like Jung's collective unconscious. But even more recently, and something I think really almost scientifically applicable, although he got laughed about it, was this biologist who, I think it's like at least 25, if not almost 30 years of age now. It's called The Science of the Biology of Life, I think. It was by Rupert Sheldrake, and he put forward the concept of morphogenetic fields that each species has.
Yep.
And it's almost as like a morphogenetic field is think of like almost like, an extra dimensional. I won't say fourth or fifth. I'm not going to put it in a dimension, but it's not three-dimensional. It's not material.
Yeah.
And it's a repository for each species. And it's almost like a quantum master computer, and where each species that goes out from this field goes into the 3D, and it gives back data through the experience of each of the species that it feeds back into that morphogenetic field unique to each either species or genus, because species could be different expressions of a genus. If you're familiar with taxonomy at all. Like we're Homo sapiens. Okay, so Homo is our genus, sapiens is our species, and when people go Homo sapiens sapiens, then we're talking about subspecies, and there are a lot of subspecies. But I just see, I really, when people are reacting, they are feeding back into their own unique morphogenetic field, which I think probably corresponds very strongly with the noosphere. And I believe we could probably nuance the meanings. Just like when you take a word like prana or chi. Now, chi and ki are actually the same thing. They're different pronunciations of the same word. But prana is a Vedic concept. Then you have vril from, like the Germans, but they're all kind of speaking the same thing. Although if each person were to give their explanation, there'd probably be slightly nuanced differences of how, because they're basically, they're looking at the universal force, and each one is perceiving it. And as Lao Tzu said at the very beginning of the I Ching, the Tao is unknowable. The knowable Tao is not the true Tao. So the true creator is unknowable. And the creator that you do know is not the true creator, or the creator of all. It might be your creator. The creator might be your creator, but it might not be the creator that created your creator.
It's saying that you cannot know all.
Even with, like, I come from the Sophian mythos. So Sophia is an Aeon that came from the center of the galaxy where Godhead is for our galaxy. So that's another thing. When you kind of get into the Sophianic mythos, and where, the concept of Aeons or gods, so to speak, with the galactic center being where the gods reside, with and kind of forming an overall Godhead and almost like a Vedic concept. And then when you get the Sophianic myth, where a part of the all came and joined Earth and is working actually one-on-one with our species, well, then now you can see like that obviously she was created as part of a greater creator, but our own local influence from that mind, we have something that's very unique in the galaxy, if not the universe, but certainly the galaxy, which is why we have so many quote unquote visitors. Because what's happening on this planet is unique in the galaxy.
And I see the mind as being a very important part of that. When you go back to Rupert Sheldrake before, that was a lot of his early work, was it? You're saying 20?
Yeah, and he was when his work first came out, biologists attacked him like they're attacking Donald Trump almost. Now, but I got a reprint that was 20 years older, and it starts out with all these letters of apology of people who had attacked him 20 years earlier.
Yes, and up to date now, he was one of the first ones to get banned on TEDx when he came out and said, I've actually got my theories here. Actually, I've proven my theory now. You can continue attacking me basically, but I've proven my theory. So that was what, 2 years ago. Him and John and Hancock both got TEDx, and because they're
gatekeeper. They're a gatekeeper. As a matter of fact, when I worked at Omega, they had a conference there. They kept themselves isolated. They had trucks of booze coming in. I mean, look, they're the nice kind of alternative face for the one kind of stinky energy. TEDx is not a clean place, and again, when you see the rejection of great minds like Rupert Sheldrake and Graham Hancock, it's like this is the apocalypse. We are in the apocalypse, which is the unveiling, and right now nobody can hide because the stakes have gotten so high.
Well, just when they banned them automatically, and after banning them automatically, they became 2 of the most watched shows.
Yes. I mean, this is a war. The battlefield is our mind. And so people like them and their information are the people who are trying to be gatekeepers of our mind, like TEDx. That kind of thinking can't be permitted, because that breaks the spell. They're spell breakers. And TEDx is just another spell weaver of the dark sorcery that has had its way on this planet for thousands of years. But the Noosphere and what is going through there collectively, and I also believe from our own planetary divinity, is feeding an energy. And I see this in the nationalist movements. I see it in Brexit. I see it in Trump. I see it in Marie Le Pen. I see it in Geert Wilders and in Netherlands. This is all a common energy. And this is our planet, and nationality and sovereignty go together. This no sovereignty, this super technocracy, this bureaucracy that the UN and other Davos type people conceive, that's the plan. I mean, and a lot of people don't. Alex Jones is a bit of a hysteric, but he's a really intelligent man, and he's read. There's papers all over the internet. Matter of fact, in the early days of Project Avalon, I was there. A lot of people were posting these white papers, from the Council on Foreign Relations and things like that. People who make policy, and they were writing their policy because most of the unwashed don't read it, so they're able to admit it. And so much of what we say and we go, oh, that's conspiracy theory, is no, I got it from their own mouth. Yeah. And that's also part of the apocalypse, is that more and more people are digging out the archives and putting the words of these people and what they really intend for us. And so that, so the master plans of places like the UN and the so-called New World Order become unveiled, and no human being really wants a part of that. Unless you're a special snowflake, that needs a safe space.
Well, obviously the change is already happening and coming about. And from what I've seen, and we're going back to that the Noosphere side of it again, is because the mind, with everything being energy never dissipates. It's always there. It can only transform. So we're going through and heavily this year at the moment already, a transmutation. But you've got to see things to be able to transmute things. Not always, but you've got to see things to transmute them. And when we see Trump bringing up all these things, Trump's no saint. So we see these things coming up.
We need a hero, not a saint. You know, I mean, if you go back into the mythos and look at the heroes, there wasn't a saint amongst them.
Yeah, and that transmutation process will only happen by things being seen to some degree. Then the transmutation happens. The transmutation happens by each individual unit or mind going about its own transmutation, which collectively or noospherically forces, gives no choice, but for a transmutation to happen on a higher level, on all the different aspects of the mind. So when you have the sexual aspect of the mind, when you have all the differing ones, from money, from everything else, there's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with all these things. They are just what's in place at the moment, and they will transmute, and to whatever degree. They're only going to transmute when it's the ugliness is seen of sexuality, the ugliness is seen of money, etc., etc. And that's by seeing your own programs first. Again, your transmutation of going, oh, money's all right. How do we go about this, and what could be better, etc. All of a sudden, you've got all these programs that you didn't know about money. Once you say money's all right, money's definitely not all right in the form it's being used at the moment. But money is what we're using, and money can be good. So we start doing our own programs of money with ourselves, and it's okay at this moment now if you have to go to there, and then it goes to the next step if it goes out, and that's where the transmutation happens on a noospheric level. The same with the sexuality side of it, the same with the business side of it. There is many big businesses that are ethically, morally, etc., making huge changes around the world at this moment now, and have been for some years. That will happen with smaller businesses, bigger businesses, and that transmutation has to happen, because it doesn't, you can't say, oh, it's gone, and it just disappears into the universe and goes somewhere else to happen. You know, that's why they're all watching from all the other planets and solar systems and everything else, because this is being done at such a high level. And we go back to that collective mind. It must, maybe to the outsiders or our relations or ancestors looking in on us now, going, well, this is like a big supercomputer that we're all using without knowing.
Yeah.
And how are they going to transmute it? You know, we can set this template up.
Well,
next planet evolving.
For me, a big part is where we're focusing. I have two thoughts that I want to get out. I'm not sure which one to go with first. I guess see which, maybe the one that sticks in my mind. With regard, like, in other words, you said, you know, nothing wrong with money, nothing wrong with sex. This is where I'd like to introduce what I think, the terminology is terrible. It's called the 7 deadly sins, okay? Corny, very, very corny language, 7 deadly sins. I consider them the 7 demonic portals. And so if you bring up money, there's nothing wrong with money unless greed, one of the demonic portals, is opened, and then your attitude around money is influenced by what let's call like an archontic influence, just to use the word, you know. But it's a negative influence. It's not for the good. To me, it's not part of the divine mind that actually is floating in the noosphere with our own collective thoughts.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and then even so, when we look at sex, nothing wrong with sex, but then when we look at a quick look at the 7, we realize that lust is where something that is sacred can become non-sacred. Even money that can be very useful and a great technology for humanity is, if greed comes in, wow. Say you have a nice house, envy is one of the things that often, you know, I mean, so to me, so there's a couple of things. First of all, we have to always manage ourselves. And I think that just knowing of what they call the deadly sins, as knowing as these are actually portals on humans, it's an influence that isn't good for us. In classic Zoroastrian, they had what they called the devas. And he didn't call them good or bad. He said there was good counsel and bad counsel, to follow the good counsel and ignore the bad counsel.
Well, you can take those seven are conduits that you can partake of. Most of us don't know we're partaking of them. That conduit, that energy flow that's coming through. You're part of it because you were brought up that way. You're a child, you get downloaded with it, whether you like it or not. And that's your belief. And as you get to know your own mind, you may go outside of that belief, try and create something new. Those portals are there. Where do you think they come from? Where was the start of it?
I'm not, you know something, I'm not even concerned. See, that's one of the things. I don't always try and chase history. I want to find applicability in the now to empower us. And sometimes the search is not empowering.
Okay.
And so for me, the awareness that, so like when we're thinking about things, you know, I mean, if we can just kind of almost like do a quick check, it's almost like looking on yourself for ticks. You know what I mean? You just go, am I envious of anything or on the situation? You know, I mean, you can just, I mean, if you're aware of those things and you feel them in you, you realize that maybe this isn't really you organically. In other words, this is not you in your heart and coming out from that way. But anyway, with the noosphere, to me, the way we know where people, if people are tuning in to that empowering energy, which is the noosphere, or looking at the show out there, is I see in the language. The language that I see biggest and I want to see diminish is what they, meaning the New World Order, the globalists, the powers that be, whatever. I mean, so much of the news, but, oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing this. And then look how small it is of what we're doing. And if we really want to tune into the noosphere, and if we're really going to become empowered, if we're really going to do what's supposed to be happening on this planet, we have to empower ourselves, and we have to start getting interested in what did we do today, not what did they do today. I mean, the only reason we would want to know maybe what they're doing is because they're making a move, and what is our counter move? Not is what did we observe them do today. That's just passive. That's very victim oriented. I mean, you know, it's time for a strategy, and the strategies will be in the noosphere.
You know how around the Earth, we have the rings or layers, ionosphere, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Just trying to think of the two layers that are above us. They're about 11,000 miles, I think it is, up, or 11,000 kilometers, I'm not sure. But there's two belts, something belts. Can't remember what they're called now.
I think, excuse me. I think the most organic one is the troposphere.
Yeah, it's not that one. It's two belts. I can't remember the name. Anyway, between these two belts, that's where it's believed that the thought sphere.
You're talking about the ones off the Earth, like the Van Allen radiation belts?
Right, gotcha. Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. Between the two Van Allen belts, it was only found out for certain last year, for certain, that there's actually 3 Van Allen belts. They never knew there was 3. There's always been 3. They could only see 2, and they only knew of 2. Between those Van Allen belts is where, I know Aeons was very certain of it, but there's no proof, of course, is where the noosphere is held. So then all of a sudden last year, oh my God, there's a 3rd belt. We didn't know that. And it's interesting because I think it's miles, and it's 11,000 miles, I may be wrong, to 22,000 miles. And in that belt there is where the noosphere is meant to be contained around the Earth of humanity's thought sphere or noosphere is actually held in that place. So when it was found that there was 3, was there ever 3 there?
Right.
Or did it just happen last year? I mean, because I think it'd be pretty obvious they'll be able to find a 3rd belt.
I'm wondering if you're thinking what I'm thinking, so that's why I'm going to let you talk.
So, and it's just like DNA. They didn't know there was a wee tail at the end. And I remember the cryo material said they'll find this when they can see it, when they can perceive of it, or when it's activated in their mind to be able to know at that time, the evolving template that we are on Earth. And I went, oh, and then Julie, they find the tail or whatever it was called on the end of the DNA, but it was only years later. And I think, well, this 3rd belt that had to be known was there if it was there, and all of a sudden it shows up. I go, oh, there's a third belt. Is that part of the evolving template? I feel it is.
I believe it is. I think what, yeah, and you kind of hinted at it, where it's almost like there's hints of a third strand of DNA forming, and this Van Allen belt is a kind of like the echo or the energetic piece around the earth that symbolizes that, or in fact, who's helping feed it.
Well, to some degree, you could maybe in one level or dimensionally, because it's very hard to go up a dimension and perceive above you your dimension you're in. Maybe it's dimensional that is actually a part of us as a higher fractal is the noosphere is actually a higher fractal of ourselves in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of getting into the dimensional speak there maybe. But if there's all that, I think the scientists on Earth at the moment say there's definitely, even though it's still theory, definitely 11 dimensions, and further back in time, they said there's definitely 17 dimensions. And all the shamanic material, Sufi, etc., that I've delved into says there has to be perceivable for us at least 18. There has to be 18.
Okay.
There has to be the fold, nine on each side with the mirror to create 18 dimensions. And we're sitting at 4, 5, and 6. So that dimensional thing, I feel, may play out, because we're obviously going to be able to comprehend, be in, or put our toes in the water in the next dimension, and the next dimension, and the next dimension. So how does that come about? We're always going to be evolving. So noospherically, I think that belt definitely has a dimensional feel for me.
Yeah. Well, I guess, there's one that I love exploring the stuff, and I've done it myself. I mean, I've done dimensional travel, but I mean, at this time in history, and having been on forums for years, I'm really trying to turn the energy into us creating the awareness that we need to self-govern. Because once we can self-govern at the local level, we can put together a global government that is from the bottom up instead of from the top down.
We're already self-governed. We can be told what to do. We will always say yes or no. We feel like we've got no choice, then we're being governed. We've always got a choice to say yes or no, It's very much.
I'm talking about policies, where rather than us, kind of abdicating our lives and like electing people who go off and join some kind of club to make policy for us. And meanwhile, the policy they make is not really so much for us. More of it, we really just need to get involved in our lives. And
that's the yes and no, though. That's the yes and no. You say no, actually, I don't like this. Is crap. This policy is bullshit. Don't like it. Ain't going to be involved in it. You go off. You join a gypsy group, or you go off and
that doesn't get the job done.
I'm finished. You go off. I lived with the gypsies for a while, and I do my own thing. I do my own learnings and that. And I integrate myself back in to the lie that you integrate yourself back into it, and then you create the change. That's how I see it. And that's a noospheric thing once again. It's noospheric because you're going into a group of 100 people that you might be working with in your community, in the city, or wherever it may be, small town. You've already done your cleansing and of as many of your programs as you can that are negative for you, bad outcomes. You're vibrating so that the energy fields around you are now stronger. And then you go into the next community that you're in, and you're changing it. And once again, it's not something new. They're talking about it way back when. I'm sure Buddha was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Would be in his energy, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I went through a change. I don't know why." I was listening to that story. Jesus is the same, I suppose. Listening to the parables. Stories are massive. Telling stories is just the greatest neurobiological learning you can get, because all of a sudden you'll only get what layer of that story that you're able to comprehend. That
was the brilliance of the Irish bards.
Aye. And then and then 2 weeks later, you have all these things happening. It's because you've been able to neurobiologically download it at another level. You may not know it yet, and you start getting aha moments. But it's 2 weeks later, and you may have had that sung into you, a song. You know, somebody's downloaded a song, they put it into music, they're singing it out there, and you have an aha moment. It was a song. Neurobiologically, that song went and hit, fired up, went around, blah, blah, blah. Something might have got transmuted once again, that transmutation. And all of a sudden, you're not doing that, you're doing that, and you're wondering why. And it was a song.
Right.
You know, like, ever wonder why the Beatles doesn't get played on the radio much? We'll get into a wee conspiracy theory here. Some of those songs were so well downloaded from, and this is another form of the Noosphere. This is different aspects of the Noosphere. It was downloaded from the Noosphere. They put it into the musical format and they sing it, and it changes the world, however it may. You know, they're very controlling of the music industry, what can get popular. And one of the reasons is it's so strong in its transmutational process, neurobiologically, and in many different social factors, of course, as well. You know, if you get a really, really good song that touches the heart, correct changes, ain't gonna probably get out there too strongly. It'll get out on the alternative radio waves, whatever. But that's what's going to happen soon. It's not going to matter what the big boys do. It's something good, something that's going to make you cry, even something like that. It's going to get out. They're very, very good at depressing and censorship. It won't last much longer, I believe. I believe by next year, there's going to be big changes on the music.
I agree.
Side. Big.
You know, because the music that has been grown popular is the equivalent of fast food. It's garbage. It really is, and it's meant. It is it's social engineering. It's meant to degrade us.
Mm. You look at Katy Perry. She's has a #1 Twitter account of followers. She's #1. I think Obama is #3. Trump is #46, and they believe he'll be #1 within a short time. Because he's a very, very intelligent guy.
Yeah,
he may not be a saint or a hero, but he's got great intelligence. He's been able to beautifully nullify a lot of the attacks on him just recently, and it's been because of the wiretapping. I think, I may not, don't quote me, I think that some of the powers that be, the wearers have just come out and said, oh, we did actually wiretap, but it was in a certain way and it was for the highest good. I don't know if that's come out on the news yet.
There's so much coming out. I mean, and that's because that's part of how the news does, is they will release lots of little subtly different things. And, you know, again, it's this fog of war.
Well, they knew that, you know, like the Wers have got it all worked out. It's like, right, well, you're there. They've got a 6-month plan based on what they're going to do over the next 2 days. So they got, Trump puts a tweet out, the future's changed completely. All that 6 months up here goes boom, 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 back to the right, back to the now through a tweet. And it's a wiretapping, can't be proved, da 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 da. Oh, actually, they might be able to prove it, so we better acknowledge some involvement in it. If you watch the words Obama said, he didn't actually say that he didn't. He said we didn't do it. Didn't say we didn't.
He didn't order it. He didn't order it. It's
exactly.
not like they didn't come and say we're doing this. Going, good work, guys.
So just in the words that Obama used, or the spokesman on behalf of Obama used, it was used so that there was no implication at a later date that they actually found some proof.
They were using legal language. The language is very legally accurate. Just the same thing when Sessions, when they asked him about if he had met with the Russians in a certain capacity, he was answering in a legal sense. The guy's an attorney.
Yeah. Yes. So it's so exciting. It's very hard to get into politics because people get so upset.
That's because they're too emotionally engaged rather than intellectually engaged. This would not be so difficult if people we're really thinking about this and not feeling about it.
I did a post today, yesterday. It was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, with G being God at the end. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on.
No, I didn't. I missed that one.
It was basically saying all is well if you go straight to your breath. God is the breath. You know, water is life. Your breath is God. If you go straight to your breath, all is well. But when the game starts out, you've got America A and B, Russia A and B, and I just went through up the things. But it's easy just to go straight to G. Go straight to G. Breathe. All is good. The world actually in front of you out there is fine.
Yes.
But what you're reading, your data coming in. If you're watching the TV, it's like, oh my God. But this was on a Matt Kahn video. You know, just turn the TV off. Go outside. What you're seeing on TV. Is it outside? No, actually, the birds are tweeting.
That's right.
Out here.
I've said that many times myself. I mean, the real news is open your front door.
Yeah. And once again, I'm like a broken record. This is what's happening. You know, I'm seeing it macro and micro. You know, people are opening the door. Trump done a tweet, and they actually opened the door in a different way. They wouldn't have before. They'd have gone down that 6-month road narrative, controlled. But all of a sudden, the people are going, oh, and they just open the front door, even if it's just a wee look out. They get taken away from the narrative that's being set up. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely just, there's a lot of unhappy people that like being in control out there at the moment. And this is going to, 2018, I keep hearing it. 2016, huge, 2016 or 216, 666 is 216, 6 times 6 times 6. Well, 2018, I've been trying to look at the numerology of it just to get
it's a 2 universal. This is a 1 universal year. 2016 was a 9 universal year. That was the closing of a cycle.
Yeah.
So we enter a new cycle. We also enter the Chinese year of the rooster. And who is more rooster-like than Donald Trump?
Totally. Yeah. He's even got the plumage.
Yeah. And it's almost like, it's really kind of funny the way, like you said, like they build up and then he just comes and just kind of knocks it off. Reminds me of a joke. I remember a guy's at a bar and he orders, a stein of beer. No sooner does the bartender come down, and this little guy about a foot high comes over and kicks his beer over. The guy orders a couple and 3 times in a row, and this little 12-inch man comes over and kicks his beer over. And the bartender says, "What's up with that?" He goes, "Oh, one time I met a genie and he gave me a wish, and I wished for a 12-inch prick."
Okay.
And to me, in many ways, Trump is playing the 12-inch prick on the globalist playing board.
Well, they probably thought
every time they set up a beer, he kicks it over.
Yeah, they probably thought they were getting an easy, someone that would, with a bit of this and that, would do their bidding, and he's certainly kicking their beer over. Beautiful.
Well, I think this has been a great talk, and I know you have to get going. I got to go feed some stray cats before the natural light gives out. So it's been good talking with you, Vern, and thanks for coming on this Cosmic Emporium TOTCAST again.
And it was lovely to basically get a wee message from you, and basically 5 minutes later we're doing this. The preparation was in the moment. Loved it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. God bless you. Be well. See you on the forum. Bye. And all of you out there, I guess I'll just kind of share the gallery, put us both on here. I'd like to thank you all for being here and catching Cosmic Emporium TOTCAST, Cosmic Emporium number 9. We will continue. Unfortunately, Geo, who knows, maybe Geo one day will go, hey, I'm in the mood for a show. But until he does that, it's going to be me and others. And please, if you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up. And if you have a comment, please comment. And if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you all.